Long before he became the president of the United States and had a legitimate reason to meet them, Donald Trump had always been quite taken by the British royalty. Between 1981 and 1995, multiple reports hit New York tabloids and other national media that members of the British royal family were interested in buying into Trump properties. For example, in the mid-90s, the New York Post reported repeatedly that the newly single Princess Diana was looking to buy a bachelorette pad in, of all places, Trump Tower. Now, it wasn't the first time such a claim was made, and Buckingham Palace always shot down such rumors. But let's start here. Andrew Kaczynski is with me, the senior editor of CNN's investigative unit KFILE, and Victoria Arbiter is CNN's royal commentator. So, Andrew, when did all this start?
So this started actually in 1982, 1981, 1983. Trump Tower was opening for the first time. And all of a sudden, these reports appear in the New York Post that Princess Diana and Prince Charles, and we have to remember they had actually just gotten married, so it was big news all around the world.
Yeah.
There's these reports that they're thinking of buying a pad in Trump Tower. Starts in the New York Post, makes its way into wire services, the AP, only to get shot down, like all of these other stories, by Buckingham Palace. And according to all of these Trump biographies, the source was actually Trump himself.
Trump himself. In fact, Trump himself. All these we've reported on all these the times that Trump has planted bits and pieces, nuggets, right, in these tabloids. And so you actually found evidence that he talked about Princess Diana moving to Trump Tower when he was a guest on Howard Stern. So here's the clip. This is November of '93.
They're going to be beautiful, world class throughout the world, the most beautiful women. We're going to try and get Lady Di. We're trying to get Lady Di actually to come to the party. It's a part of the deal for buying the apartment in Trump Tower. And the girl, but she can't have the apartment in Trump Tower unless she comes to the party.
And so what did Buckingham Palace, did they jump in and try to squelch all that? Did it benefit him at all at the time?
When one of their best comments actually came in 1994 when he claimed they were going to join Mar-a-Lago when it was opening. And it's really funny because it's always the same claim. The royals are going to join, New York tabloids pick it up, wire services pick it up, they shoot down the rumor. In this instance, their comment was really great because I don't know if you can be any more equivocal than this. This story is nonsense, absolutely, utterly untrue. This story was concocted by Mr. Trump to secure publicity for his club. It is a matter of regret that he feels he can use the names of members of the royal family to do so. We don't really see comments like that very often.
Talk about that, how that is
really don't.
So rare.
I mean, I think Buckingham Palace would need an office the size of the Empire State Building to refute all of the claims that get tossed out.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Trump is not the first person to try and cash in on the royal family, nor will he be the last, but he is, by the sounds of all of this, probably the most bold. And I think Buckingham Palace just had to rein it in, because what happens is Buckingham Palace will leave a couple of the rumours, they don't comment, but then they take on a life of their own. And Mr. Trump, as we know, can court publicity probably better than anyone else on the planet. So these reports were suddenly hitting up the Associated Press. They were on the front pages of newspapers around the world.
And they had to jump in on it.
Categorically untrue.
You also tweeted, Victoria, people afforded the privilege of private time with a royal really aren't supposed to talk about it publicly. Why did you tweet that? What do you mean?
Well, because, as we know, overnight Donald Trump gave an interview to Piers Morgan, and that's where, obviously, he has been so taken aback by this show that the royal family gave him. He loved every second. We know he can't help himself from sharing about those experiences. His children have been tweeting everything and Instagramming everything, but you're really not supposed to talk about anything, so I was curious to see how much he would reveal. Now, he said his meeting with Prince Charles went over an hour and a half. It didn't. It went over about 20 minutes, so there's an element of truthiness. But the reason you don't talk about your meetings with the royals is because comments can be misconstrued. Whatever Mr. Trump said would be his interpretation of his relationship to Prince Harry or the Queen. So it's really good form, if you're going to be well behaved and well mannered, is to not say anything, is to enjoy the privilege and to keep it private.
Why do you think, we were talking the other day as we were sitting here watching, or ahead of watching the toast at the state banquet, and you were making, I thought, this excellent point, which was there are few people on the planet with whom this president is so deferential, minding his P's and Q's.
He really does.
Why do you think it's the Queen?
I think there's a couple of elements here. Clearly he is so taken by royalty. In that same Howard Stern interview, he said, maybe I'll be with Princess Diana, I'll be the King of England, which illustrates his lack of understanding over constitutional monarchy. But he's obviously just loves this world. We've seen sort of the gaudy trappings of Trump Tower and all the gold. But I think the Queen, you know, she's reduced captains of industry. Even Republicans refer to her as untouchable. But I think for Mr. Trump, perhaps there's elements that remind remind him of his mother. He shows her reverence, he shows her respect. And I'm so glad, because I think there'd have been a revolt in England had he mistreated her. But it's good to see that deep down, Mr. Trump, there are some manners in there somewhere.
Victoria Arbiter and Andrew Kaczynski, guys, thank you very much on that.